All right, today we're going to talk about life insurance, but probably not the kind you're thinking of. This isn't just about what you get from your job. This is about your loans, your travel, and even your service to the country. We're diving into some really specialized group life insurance plans built for very specific situations. So, when you hear group life insurance, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Probably a benefit that comes with your paycheck, right? Well, that's just one tiny piece of the puzzle. There's a whole other world of group coverage out there, and each type is designed to solve a very different kind of financial problem. Okay, let's kick things off with something pretty much all of us can relate to: debt. You finance a car, you take out a loan for a home project, but have you ever stopped to think, what would happen to that debt if you weren't around to pay it off? Well, there's an insurance for that exact scenario. It's called group credit life insurance, and its job is simple and singular: to pay off a specific loan if the borrower passes away. This isn't about leaving a big inheritance for your family. It's all about making sure that debt doesn't get passed on to them. So how does it work? It's actually super straightforward. You take out the loan, you get insured through the lender's group policy. Then, if the unthinkable happens, the insurance payout doesn't even go to your family. Nope, it goes straight to the lender to completely wipe out that loan balance. So, what's going on behind the scenes here? Well, banks and finance companies are the ones who set up these policies. And it's you, the borrower, who usually pays the premiums. And this is the really clever part. It often uses what's called decreasing term coverage. As you pay down your loan, the amount of coverage shrinks right along with it. That way, you're only ever insured for exactly what's left on the loan. Pretty smart, right? All right, so we've talked about individual debt. Now let's pivot a little and talk about a shared risk. I mean, some risks aren't about one person's life over the long term. They're about a very specific temporary event that a whole group of people are facing at the exact same time. And for that, you've got something called blanket life insurance. See, with your typical group plan from work, you're named specifically, you get a certificate. But a blanket policy, it's different. It covers an entire group, sometimes without even naming everyone, for one single shared hazard. It's like a temporary safety net for a specific situation. So who actually uses this stuff? Well, think about all the passengers on an airplane, or think about the students and faculty at a school. They are all covered as a group, but only for that specific shared risk while they're on that plane or for events at that school. Okay, now we're going to talk about one of the biggest players in the group insurance game, and you might be surprised who it is. We're talking about the U.S. federal government. It offers a whole suite of life insurance options, built specifically for the men and women in the armed forces and, just as importantly, their families. The cornerstone of this whole system is SGLI, which stands for Service Members Group Life Insurance. At its core, it's a group term life policy, plain and simple, created exclusively for full-time military personnel. And we're not talking about a small amount of coverage here. SGLI offers protection up to a maximum of $400,000. Service members can choose their coverage level in $50,000 chunks, so they can pick what's right for them. But here's what's really important about this. It's automatic. As soon as you're on active duty, you are enrolled. You actually have to go out of your way to opt out. This means there's a safety net in place from the very first day of service. And that protection, it doesn't just stop with the person in uniform. The program has another layer called FSGLI, which extends that same federal safety net to cover spouses and dependent children too. So let's look at the breakdown. A military spouse can get up to $100,000 in coverage, and the premium just depends on their age. And get this is the really amazing part. Every dependent child is automatically covered for $10,000, and it costs the service member absolutely nothing. Okay, so that's all great while you're in the service. But what happens when you leave? When you transition back to civilian life, does all that coverage just vanish? It's a huge question for every veteran. Thankfully, the answer is no, and that's all thanks to VGLI, Veterans Group Life Insurance. This program is the bridge. It lets former service members convert their SGLI policy into a renewable term policy, making sure they can keep that crucial life insurance protection long after they've hung up the uniform. Now, the federal government's role as this huge insurer, it's not just for the military. There's a whole other program running in parallel for the vast civilian workforce that keeps the country running. And that program is FGLI, the Federal Employees Group Life Insurance. It's basically the civilian counterpart to SGLI, offering similar group term life protection to federal employees and civil service workers all across the government.
So we've looked at insurance for loans, for groups on a plane, for military members, for federal workers. What's the big idea here? What's the common thread that ties all of these different plans together?
Let's just boil it all down real quick. Group credit life, it pays off a loan. Blanket life, it covers a temporary shared danger. SGLI and VGLI, that's for our military members and veterans. And FGLI, that's for federal civilian employees. See? Each one is a very specific tool for a very specific job.
And really, that's the bottom line here. The most powerful financial tool isn't some secret product. It's the one that's perfectly matched to your actual life situation, whether that's protecting your family from debt or finding security through your service to the country. And that kind of leaves you with a final question, doesn't it? All of these specialized plans are sort of hiding in plain sight. It really makes you wonder, what other powerful financial safety nets are out there perfectly suited for your life, just waiting to be found?